Hi everyone, my name is Jonathan Strauss. I'm the manager of the Future Students Office here at the University of New South Wales. Welcome to our Kensington campus and to our Year 10 Subject Selection and Information Evening. I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land here at the University of New South Wales, where we're gathered this evening, the Bidjigal people, and any elders past or present who may be joining us this evening. So this evening is going to cover, surprise, surprise, subject selection. So before I begin with that, can I get a show of hands? Who is doing the HSC or planning to do the HSC? Hands? Excellent, good, good. Okay, that's the vast majority of you. Now, I will ask the next question, in which point it will become clear. How many of you are doing the International Baccalaureate, or IB, or planning to do the IB? Handful, so about 5, 10 or so. So just to clarify for everyone, most of the information I'll be covering this evening will be about the HSC, but there are subject equivalents for the IB, and it will be important for you to get some of that subject selection that is from your school, specifically about the IB. But a lot of the information this evening, for those of you who are planning to do the IB, will be applicable, including all of the admissions information that I'll cover later, the scholarships information that we'll be talking about as well, and also how an ATAR is calculated, and what you need to be thinking about in terms of those things for those of you who are considering, probably most of you or all of you, going on to university after you finish the HSC or the IB. So without further ado, the quick rundown of how this is going to work is I'm going to dive right into the HSC and subject selection and what you need to know about the subjects that you'll be selecting as part of your Year 11 and Year 12 year, and how that will equate into an ATAR. Then Trudy Noller from UAC will be here to run through how the ATAR is calculated and go in through some of the myth busting about how that works and why rank may matter more than the actual score you get in a particular subject. And then we'll have some information from scholarships, so from Heidi and from Michelle on general scholarships at the university, co-op scholarship then in particular, and then Heidi will share a little bit about her experience in the HSC and picking her subjects and what studying at UNSW has been like for her so far. So that's how the program will line up, and I promise we'll be out of here at about 7:35, and then the faculties and student services will be available again in the galleries to answer any questions that you may have. So, this information comes straight to you from the Board of Studies. So they have put this presentation together, and they have it available for you to download from the Board of Studies website if you would like to look at it further. There are some additional slides that we have omitted that aren't necessarily as geared to those students who are looking for going on to tertiary study in the future. So we've left those out, but you're more than welcome to download this presentation from their website if you would choose to do so afterward. So a couple of things to remember. Your record of school achievement is going to be your Year 10, 11, and 12 results. Your record of school achievement, or your ROSA, will be available to you after Year 10, and then your Year 11 and Year 12 will make up your actual HSC. So that's how it will progress over the next couple of years. What is the higher school certificate, or what is the HSC? Sounds pretty straightforward, but a couple of key things to keep in mind is that the HSC is the culmination of your entire student history in Year 10, 11, and 12. It is the highest educational award in secondary education that you can get here in New South Wales, and other than the IB. And it is a standardized assessment and curriculum. So no matter where you do the subject in New South Wales, whether it's here in Sydney or in Coffs Harbour or wherever else, it is the same subject taught to the same standard and assessed in the same way. So that's an important thing. It happens to be one of the largest standardized education systems in the world. And so with that, there's a lot of information to take in at times. The HSC structure, how is it structured? What do you need to know at this point? All of the courses in the HSC have a unit value. So 1 or 2 units primarily, and most of those will be 2 units, and they would be 120 hours of instruction. With each of those, you're going to have, with a 2-unit subject, you're going to be marked out of a score of 100. For those 1 units, they're then exactly half of that, so 60 hours of instruction, and marked out of 50. There are extension courses available for many subjects as well, and I'll go through some of those examples in a moment so that you can look at what might be applicable or appropriate for you. In your preliminary course, which is for most of you going to be Year 11, you can spread the HSC out over more than 2 years if your situation warrants that, and that's why the terminology is used as preliminary year versus Year 11. But again, preliminary year for most of you in the room will be preliminary year will be your Year 11 year. In your year 11 year, you're going to do a minimum of 12 units of HSC subjects. And you must complete those subjects satisfactorily in order to progress onto your HSC year. In your HSC year, in your HSC course, your year 12 year, you must do a minimum of 10 units. So you can drop up to 2 units, if you'd like, down to the minimum of 10 to complete the HSC in year 12. There are a couple of different types of courses offered by the HSC, by the Board of Studies as part of the HSC. They are board-developed courses and board-endorsed courses. And there are a couple of key differences between those courses, the types of courses, and why you might choose one over the other. So the board-developed courses do have an HSC exam, whereas the board-endorsed courses do not. Board-developed courses are also, you can include them in the calculation of your ATAR, or Australian Tertiary Admission Rank. And there are some VET courses that are available as part of the board-developed courses, and the life skills course is one of those offered at some schools, though not necessarily the majority of those of the schools that you would attend. The board-endorsed courses, again, don't have an HSC exam, and they are not included as part of your ATAR calculation, and there are some VET courses that are offered as part of board-endorsed courses as well. Also, to keep things as confusing as possible, there are Category A courses and Category B courses. Now, I should also say that you're going to hear this information more than just tonight. Your school will probably give this information to you again and potentially offer an information evening as well, so don't be overwhelmed by the speed at which I'm going through this or the fact that you must know all of this information right now. You have time to take it in and to look at this information again with the video and or by downloading the presentation so you can see it again. Don't freak out too much if you don't grasp it all right at this moment. But with Category A courses, they may be included as part of your ATAR calculation, and they do have that compulsory HSC examination. With Category B courses, you can't take more than 2 units of Category B courses and have them counted as part of your ATAR. So only a maximum of 2 units of Category B courses can be used in calculating your ATAR. They have an optional HSC exam, and they do include the VET curriculum, which I'll talk about in a moment as well. So requirements for the HSC. This is the one that is going to look overwhelming, and each one of these things must be met, not all together, but as individual components. So you must have at least 2 units of English as part of your HSC, both in year 11 and in year 12. And it doesn't matter what level that English is done at, but it must be English. You must complete 2 units of English. You must also have at least 6 units of board-developed courses as part of your HSC. You will then also need to do a minimum of 3 courses with 2 unit value or higher, and you must have at least 4 subjects that you will take, including English. So 3 in addition to English or more, it's up to you. Also, for those of you who are very keen with science, I have to inform you that unfortunately you can't do more than 6 units of science subjects. So biology, chemistry, physics, and then that's it, you can't do any more. I heard a very quiet sigh of either relief or whatever the opposite. Satisfactory completion of a course. This seems fairly straightforward and obvious, but you need to satisfactorily complete every course that you complete in order to finish the HSC and actually complete the qualification. In order to do that, you need to follow the course outline that's developed by the Board of Studies. You need to apply yourselves appropriately and with due diligence in that process to make sure that you are doing all that's required of you and making your best effort. And you need to achieve as many of the course outcomes as possible. And those things go kind of without saying, but it is important to remember that that is part of the process of completing your HSC. There are some additional completion requirements for some HSC courses, and this is that you need to complete at least 50% of the requirements of the course in order to pass that course, and you need to make a serious attempt and sit the exam that is required as part of that course. You can't say, well, 50% will get me enough and it will be good. That won't count. You need to do both the assessment of 50% and the 50% required of the exam as well. So a couple of now key things about individual courses. With English, again, it is compulsory and you must do at least 2 units of English. There are 4 different types of English or 4 different levels of English that you can choose from when you're sitting the HSC, both in your preliminary year, as is noted here, and in your year 12 HSC year on the next slide. In your preliminary year, you can choose between English Advanced, English Standard, English as a Second Language, and English Studies. Again, most schools may not offer English Studies, so you'll be probably choosing from the three above that, which is English Advanced, English Standard, and ESL. There is no disadvantage to you in doing English as a second language if, in fact, you are an English as a second language speaker or you have that background. Those of you who did not grow up English as a second language, you are surprisingly not allowed to do English as a second language. Surprise, surprise. Your school can help you in determining what might be the most appropriate level English for you to do. But with your English Advanced, if you choose to do that, you can also choose to do English Extension, and you must do that with your Advanced English. So that would take it from 2 units to 3 units, and you can do that in your preliminary year as well. With your HSC year in English, again, you have the choices of English Advanced, English Standard, ESL, and English Studies, if your school offers it. And with English Advanced, you can now choose between English Extension 1 and or English Extension 2. Again, for university admission, English as a second language does not technically disadvantage you. You may have requirements or assumed knowledge of having a basic level of English, but the English as a second language curriculum would prepare you for that. So don't hesitate to do that if it is the right English language subject for you or level. Then we move on to mathematics. Everyone's favorite subject, sometimes. And unfortunately for some of you in the room, it will be my job to tell you that mathematics is not compulsory as part of the HSC. That said, it would be unwise for you to not do mathematics if you were looking at particular degrees that would have a heavy math component to them, like our engineering degrees, many of our science degrees, our commerce, our economics degrees. If you don't like maths, perhaps you should be thinking about some other options that don't include those degree and study areas, because if you don't, you're going to be doing a lot of maths in those particular degrees. In year 11, you have the option of mathematics and mathematics general. You can also choose to do mathematics extension if you are doing mathematics, and again, that would take it from 2 units to 3 units. And you must do mathematics along with extension concurrently in order to do the extension. You can't choose to do just extension. Then in year 12, in your HSC year, you can do mathematics with extension 1 and add on extension 2 if that's something you would like to do. But you cannot choose between mathematics extension 1 and extension 2. It is definitely an addition of extension 2. So it would be mathematics, mathematics extension 1, and mathematics extension 2, taking you to 4 units of mathematics. There are some degrees here at UNSW which will have assumed knowledge of mathematics 1, extension 1, and we'll go through a little bit later what that is and what assumed knowledge means later in the presentation this evening. Again, you can also choose from Mathematics General 2 or Mathematics General 1, and that would be an appropriate level of maths for some of our degrees here at UNSW, but not all of them. So do have a think about that, and I'll talk about that more a bit later. Languages. There are a number of languages available as part of the HSC, and as a university, we like to encourage students to consider studying a foreign language because there are great opportunities available to you if you do speak a foreign language, and in a global society, in a global world, it is something that is a very valuable skill. With languages, there are, surprisingly, again, eligibility requirements, and there are different levels of language that you can take, both beginners, continuous, heritage in those languages listed there, and also background speakers in those particular languages. You cannot, again surprisingly, do beginner's level foreign language if you are a background or native speaker. That would be not allowed, and you and your school will have to sign a statutory declaration when you select your language level, what level is appropriate for you, that says this is the appropriate level and I don't have any background if I'm doing beginners, or I do, or whatever, and it's into the right level. That is information that's audited by the Board of Studies on a fairly regular basis with all schools across the state to ensure that people aren't putting themselves into an easier level subject that is unfairly advantaging them over other students. There are extension courses available in some of the language options, courses, and so do have a look at those if those interest you. The other extension courses. So we've covered English and mathematics already. So as you can see, we've covered English extension 1 and 2 and mathematics extension 1 and 2. But you also have the option with history of doing extension, with music, and extension is also available in some of the languages and VET courses. I'll cover VET in a moment as well. VET in the HSC, or Vocational Education and Training, they are qualifications that you can do as part of your HSC, so either a certificate 3, 2, 3, depending, and usually offered by TAFE. There are board-developed VET courses, and there are also board-endorsed VET courses. And there are some subtle differences between them that would matter if VET is something that you're looking to do. Now, not all schools will offer VET courses, and doing VET courses can be sometimes challenging to incorporate into your HSC year, primarily because they have extra requirements that will be outside of the actual HSC itself. And we'll cover those in a moment. Within the board-developed HSC VET courses, there is a syllabus that you can download online, just like there is for every single subject that's offered as part of the HSC. You can go there today and look at all of the requirements that are part of each individual subject. They are based on a national standard, and they include an HSC outcome and are included in the HSC content, but you also will have an HSC examination as part of the board-developed VET course. And, importantly, it has a mandatory work placement. So you will need to find time during your HSC year to complete that work placement as part of your board-developed HSC VET course. These are the board-developed courses as part of VET that are offered in the HSC. As you can see, there's a wide range of options, and it may be appropriate for you to consider a VET course, and it is something that is possible to do and that we wouldn't discourage you from doing if one of these appeals to you. And again, the benefit of doing a VET course is that you leave the HSC with an additional qualification in addition to your HSC. So that can be something that can allow you to go straight into the workforce, or potentially to then build on if you want to look at other tertiary study other than with a university. So those are available to you. And as part of the HSC, whether you're doing a VET course or any other course, you will be required shortly, I think at the end of year 10 or early year 11, to complete something called HSC All My Own Work. This is done online and through the Board of Studies, and it essentially is just getting you to take a pledge and to understand the differences between plagiarism and citing things appropriately, and that doing your own work versus doing group work, and what those differences are, and what's appropriate as part of the HSC. That course will be, you will go through that, and at the end of it you will be signing a declaration that indicates your agreement to play by the rules of the HSC. Your HSC marks, I will quickly go through this because Trudy will go through a bit of this with UIC as well, but essentially you will have your internal assessments, which will be all documented as part of your syllabus for each individual subject, and those will count as 50% of your HSC mark, your overall mark. But also counting for 50% will be the HSC examination. And so they are equally important, and you must do both as well as you possibly can to do well in each HSC subject that you do. What is the ATAR? Trudy will cover this in a moment, but the Australian Tertiary Admissions rank is just that. It is a rank. It isn't a score. It isn't how well you performed against it is exactly how you performed against everyone else, and it's ranking you against everyone else, but it is not that you did super, super well in some subjects and really, really poor in some subjects, and your ATAR is reflected of that. It is how you are compared to all other students that have performed in the HSC in that given year, or in the IB for those of you doing the International Baccalaureate. Your ATAR is used exclusively by universities to assess you for admission to university. It should not be used, or generally is not used, by other people outside of the tertiary education sector. Most people are not required to indicate on a job application what their ATAR is. I would question that job if you were being asked to do that. But that's essentially what it is, and that is what you will get after you complete your HSC. What are the ATAR eligibility requirements? Trudy will cover this as well, but essentially 10 units of board-developed courses, at least 2 of those need to be English, at least 4 units of board-developed courses, and at least 8 units of Category A courses. Trudy will cover those in a moment, so I am going to go quickly. Your ATAR, how is it calculated? Essentially, the Board of Studies of New South Wales will take your exam mark and your assessment mark, and they will be fed into the University's Admission Centre, or UAC, and they will then scale all of those marks appropriately, and Trudy may talk about that in a moment as well. And they will then take your 2 units of English, whichever 2 units they are, and your next best 8 units, and that will be how your ATAR is calculated. A couple of key things to think about when it comes to selecting your subjects as part of the HSC. You need to be thinking about what are your strengths, what are your abilities. It is not in your best interest to do a higher level subject simply because it's higher level and you think it will scale better. That's simply not true. If you don't perform well in the subject and it's higher level and you could have performed better in a lower level subject, that is going to be in your best interest to do the lower level subject. Sometimes parents are strongly encouraging students to do subjects that may not be something a student wants to do. Now, I realize that parents often know best or think that they know best sometimes. But it is really, really important to make sure that you're having an open and honest conversation about abilities and strengths and where it is that you're ultimately looking to go with the subjects that you're doing in the HSC. And I realize that can change over time, and so being mindful of doing a range of subjects that are going to set you up so no matter what direction you go in, you are going to be well prepared is a good thing to be thinking about. And the good thing is that you are all here this evening and starting that conversation now. So you're going to have time to think about what makes sense for each of you and is best for you. The other thing, and I've mentioned this already, is your career aspirations. So what is it that you're looking to do once you graduate from university, once you finish the HSC, once you move through university? What is it that you want to do? Now, if you don't know, that's okay. Surprise, surprise, you have time to figure that out. But if you are someone who is certain of what your career is going to be once you finish your tertiary study, then be mindful of that when you're picking your HSC subjects. Also, importantly, look at what the syllabus requirements are for each individual subject. If you look at it and you say, I hate all of these things that are going to be required of me, and it's going to be a miserable experience, you're right. It's going to be a miserable experience if that's the way you think of it at this moment. So be aware of what those syllabus requirements are and what the competing requirements may be between individual subjects. And that's why it says subject combinations. So it is important to note that there are some subjects that will have all of their assessments due at exactly the same time. If you're someone who can easily manage and juggle a whole bunch of projects and things all at once, then by all means take those subjects and pair them together and you're going to be fine. If you're someone who struggles with some of that balancing act of getting things done and time management and getting it all sorted all at once, then be mindful of that when you're picking your HSC subjects. And also, importantly, it just says other commitments. And I think it kind of doesn't do it a proper service in that we as a university, and we'll talk about this later in scholarships, but we want you to have other commitments outside of the HSC. We do not want you to turn your life off other than HSC during the HSC year. We are looking for students who are well-rounded, who enjoy what they're doing outside of the HSC, whether it's sport, music, volunteering, whatever it might be, and then also that can manage and deal with the HSC curriculum as well. So do be mindful of what are the other things that you would hope to do, or what are the other things that you have to do. If working is part of that, that's something that the university will be looking for afterward as well. So, where can you get some additional information and where can you think about things? We've talked about this. What are my future options? What is it that I'm looking to do afterward? And the advice that you can get from teachers. So look to the teachers that you like and that you trust at the moment and have an honest conversation about them, with them, sorry, not about them. Have a conversation with them about what you might be suited to in the HSC and what level of subjects in particular. Have a conversation with your parents, or parents, have a conversation with your Year 10 student. Make sure that you've made yourself clear about what it is that you think you're strong and good at doing and where you think you might want to go for uni or what you want to study in uni. And parents, don't hesitate to give your feedback and advice. Just be mindful that it is feedback and advice, and we're hoping that they will make the right decision for them. And you can also speak to your careers advisor or your year advisor at school. And I'll also mention you can speak to other students who have gone through the HSC or are studying at university at the moment. And I'll also mention that staff of the university, some of the people who are here this evening from the faculties, are great people to speak to as well about what might be appropriate subject selection for particular degrees or for particular career paths in the future. So all of those people are available to you to get advice from. If you want more information from the Board of Studies, by all means visit their website where you can download this presentation and all of the syllabuses for each individual subject as part of the HSC. And you can also visit UAC's website. So getting you into UNSW, a couple of things that we want you to be aware of when it comes to applying to university 2 years from now. I know that seems like a really long time away, but there are a couple of things that we need you to know now as you're picking your subjects to make the right decisions so that you're set up and prepared well for entering university in the future. So a couple of key things, your application. Ultimately, you will apply to study at the university via the university's admission center, and we require that you have completed one of these qualifications, essentially the HSC for most of you in the room, or the IB, or if you end up moving interstate, one of the Australian senior secondary qualifications, or if you're a New Zealand citizen and studying in New Zealand, which I imagine there probably aren't anybody here at the moment who's flown in from New Zealand, but possibly watching later, and any overseas secondary qualifications as well. So you need to have completed those, and then you can be assessed for admission via the university's admission center. If you are thinking of degrees here at UNSW, now I will also say that I am the self-appointed representative of all universities this evening, and I promise to be as fair and balanced in my delivery of this information, but there are a couple of key things that will be different be just specific to UNSW, and that you'll want to find out from other universities if you start to look at them and what they're offering to make sure that they are either the same or if they have slightly different criteria that you'll be mindful of. I'll try to point out a couple of those things. The first one is, of course, additional selection criteria. So this is specific to UNSW only degrees, and it is for aviation, law, medicine, music, optometry, the UNSW Canberra at ADFA program, the Defense Force Academy, or our co-op scholarships. These are degrees that, in addition to your UAC application and a preference for that degree on your UAC application, you will need to do something else, the additional selection criteria component. They are, with aviation, a flight medical exam and an application straight to the School of Aviation. With law, we have introduced from this year the new law admission test, or LAT, which you will need to sit in year 12 in order to qualify or be eligible for a place in law here at UNSW. Medicine has the UMAT, an application straight to the faculty, and an interview requirement. Music has the audition. Optometry has the UMAT. The UNSW Canberra at ADFA Defense Force recruiting process must be completed for anybody who's looking to study with ADFA. And that can take 6 to 10 months to complete, so it's a good idea to have that conversation with Defense Force Recruiting toward the end of this year as a Year 10 student, if that is something that you're looking to do in the future. And our co-op scholarship has a direct application and interview that you need to complete as well. A couple of key other things that we don't want you to forget about are that we have the Faculty of Engineering Admission Scheme, or FIAS, and also our BISAS, or BISAS, application scheme as well. With both of those, they're going to look at the subjects you've done in the HSC and whether they're relevant to the degree you want to do here at UNSW. And if you don't have the cutoff, ATAR cutoff, that's required to get into that particular degree, they may make you an offer, even if your ATAR is a little bit lower, based on how well you performed in those particular subjects that are relevant to those degrees. So do have a look at that if that's something that applies to you once you get to year 12, or if you think it might apply to you once you get later into year 11 or early year 12. Finally, we also have portfolio entry options for our built environment degrees, most of them, and all of our degrees offered by UNSW Art and Design. There you can submit a portfolio of your artwork or potentially an essay or a personal statement, and they will again assess that in addition to your ATAR. So if your ATAR doesn't quite meet the cutoff, they may still make you an offer based on your assessment of your portfolio or your essay. I've spoken a couple of times this evening about assumed knowledge, and I'm just going to outline quickly. Most of the parents in the room and many students would also be familiar with the term prerequisite. Essentially, a prerequisite is that you must have completed A before you can do B. Here at the university, we have prerequisites for students who are already enrolled, so you must have completed maths level something in order to do the next higher level maths. We do not, however, have prerequisites for students coming from year 12 into the university. The University of Sydney has just announced that they are going to have math prerequisites for your cohort, so you will be the first group that will, if you are looking at certain subject or degrees at the University of Sydney, you will need to do prerequisites. We have not introduced those here at UNSW, so be mindful of what the difference is. While we don't have prerequisites for HSC students or Year 12 leavers here at UNSW, we do have something called assumed knowledge, and that's where we assume that you have completed a particular subject in the HSC and that we will teach the first year, or the first day of the subject in university, in your first semester here at UNSW, as if you have completed that subject and have that background knowledge. If you don't, we will still make you an offer to that degree, and you may choose to get that knowledge in another way, whether you've done it through kind of self-study or you choose to do it through a bridging course. There are a number of options available to you, but we aren't going to assess you based on whether or not you have done that particular subject. We do offer bridging courses here at UNSW in mathematics, chemistry, and physics, but you can do them anywhere. It doesn't matter where you do a bridging course. We don't care. It's for your benefit only, and we would highly recommend that you do it if there is an assumed knowledge component for a particular degree and you haven't done that subject in the HSC. Bonus points, a fairly controversial topic at the moment. I don't know if anyone has read a newspaper in the last 6 months, but there is a fair bit of discussion about bonus points. And I can assure you that we at UNSW are very proud of the bonus point schemes that we have, 3 of them, and that they are very transparent. And it is published on our website, always has been, about what bonus points you may be eligible for and how you can be eligible for them. I'll go through them now, just so that you have a quick reference of them and understand how they work. But this is a moment where every bonus point scheme at every university is different. So we do that to try to keep it as confusing as possible for everyone. Bad joke, considering the news. But here is our first bonus point scheme. It's called HSC Plus. It's based on the subjects you do in the HSC, or for those of you doing the IB, subjects that are equivalent to those HSC subjects. And if those subjects are relevant to the degree you want to do here at UNSW, we may award you bonus points, 1 to 5 bonus points, for performance in Band 4, Band 4, 5, or 6, or extension subjects E3 or E4, 1 to 2 bonus points per subject, up to that maximum of 5. So every degree here at UNSW lists whether they participate or not, and the ones that you most want to participate, law, medicine, optometry, do not participate in HSC+. So it is important to look at that online and have a look to see what degrees are participating in HSC+, but we list every subject that is relevant and the band scores that are relevant as well, so you can have an idea of what number of bonus points you might be eligible for. We also have the Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points. Now, HSC Plus bonus points are automatic. You won't have to do anything. We will add those onto your ATAR to create a higher selection rank for you, and it will happen automatically. Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points are different. You will need to tell us via an application that you are awesome so that we can give you bonus points for being awesome. This is for elite level performance in sport, music, leadership, a number of academic pursuits like debating. All of these are things that can be recognized under the Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points scheme, and we have a list on our website that lists some commonly applied bonus points for elite athletes and performers. But if you happen to be an elite international hula hooper, it's not one of the things we list, but if you can make a compelling case as to why that is an elite level performance, we will assess it and let you know whether or not you get points. I wouldn't count on it, but you can still apply. Again, you can get a maximum of 5 Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points, and you can add those bonus points to the 5 HSC Plus bonus points that you may be eligible for as well. That brings you to the total maximum of 10 bonus points that you could ever receive here at UNSW. No one could ever receive more than 10 bonus points, and so do keep in mind how that works. If you have an 80 ATAR at the end of your HSC year and you are eligible for 10 bonus points, that will make you have a selection rank of 90 here at UNSW, depending on the degree, and it's calculated by degree. With that in mind, that opens up a huge range of degree options for many, many students. So bonus points can make a big difference, and we're doing it for a number of reasons. One, we're doing it because elite level performance in any of these things is something that we want to encourage. We don't want you to give up on all of those things. Examples here would be Gold Duke of Ed, sport at a state or higher level, AMEB grade 8s completed in year 11 or year 12 for music. debating at a national or a state level, there are a large range of things that apply here. We want you to continue to do that. We don't want to discourage you from doing that in the HSC or in year 11 or 12. And with HSC Plus, we want to encourage you to do subjects that are going to help you to do well here at UNSW as well, and hence the bonus points that are applied there. Finally, access, or the educational access scheme. This is something that is relatively universal. It's assessed differently by each university, but educational access scheme is a universal bonus point scheme across almost all universities in New South Wales and the ACT. You will need to demonstrate long-term, more than 6 months of educational or socioeconomic disadvantage. And if this does apply to you in year 11 or in year 12, you're going to need to make sure that your school is aware of that disadvantage and that they will support your application, because it will need to come via them to the UAC or to the University's Admission Center in year 12, so during your HSC year. So do have a look at that if that's something that you think applies to you. We do have guaranteed entry here at UNSW, and that made quite a bit of news this year as well. We've published in the back of our guide, which you can grab at the Future Students Office table with our faculties. We list all of our degrees and the cutoff that was required, the ATAR cutoff, or the selection rank cutoff, excuse me, that was required to get into each of our degrees for semester 1 of this past year, so 2016. We also list a guaranteed entry cutoff, which is usually slightly higher or the same. And with that, it means that if you get that selection rank with any bonus points that you may be eligible for, if you have it as your highest eligible preference, so you can't get an offer to something else, we will guarantee that you will get an offer to that in the main round of UAC, of the University's Admission Center for semester 1. We can happily talk about that more afterward if you'd like to know more, but there's cool information coming to you about that in year 12 itself. Now, Trudy, whose name has been muddled by the slide, is here to talk to you a little bit more about the UAC process and also ATAR calculation and what you need to know. So thank you very much. Here's Trudy.
Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, so you know what UAC is? We're the admissions office, but we also calculate the ATAR. And I love talking about the ATAR. Some people don't. That's okay. Just a little bit of a distinction between HSC and the ATAR. HSC, of course, your marks will tell us about how well you've performed in the HSC. Your ATAR, of course, is about where you're positioned. And as you know, performance and position can be quite different. We always talk to students about performance and position in terms of being in a running race. So you get into the HSC, it's like being in a race. You get to the end, you're really thrilled with yourself, you've just done your personal best time. Mum and Dad are at the end, yay, fantastic, you've never had that performance before in your life. How fantastic. But you look around and you think, yeah, but you know, I'm in the middle of the pack. It's like your ATAR. It's where you're positioned in that race. So your performance and your position can be quite different. A lot of students get their HSC marks and they look at it and they think, oh, well, that's pretty good, you know, well, I'm going to have a pretty good ATAR. And they get it and they might be a little bit disappointed because both numbers cannot really be compared because they mean totally different things. A good performance doesn't always guarantee a good position. The only thing in the scenario of HSC and the ATAR, the only thing you can control is how well you have performed. You cannot control the ATAR because you cannot control everybody else in the race. No way of gaming it, unfortunately. It's all about working hard. So what is the ATAR? And Jonathan has talked about this. It's a number from 0 to 99.95. We used to have 100 years ago. It's quite a long time ago, and everyone still says, why can't we get 100? Well, remember, ATAR is a rank. And if you had a rank of 100, that means that you've beaten 100% of the people, meaning you've beaten yourself. And statistically, you can't have a rank of 100. It is all about position, as I've said. And when you get your ATAR notice, only students with ATARs of 30 and above are notified of the particular number it is. Anyone less than that, unfortunately, doesn't get to know. And once again, saying what Jonathan has said, it is only used for university entry, and that is it. We have had employees ring UAC and ask for a student's ATAR in regards to a particular employment. Terrible. Of course, they don't get it, and the ATAR is surrounded by privacy. So when the ATAR comes out and mum and dad ring, we can't even give it to you. All right? It is owned by the student. We don't even give it to schools. No school knows what ATARs their students receive. So if you get a really bad one and your school asks you, tell them whatever you like, because they'll never know. To be eligible for an ATAR. Okay, to be eligible for an ATAR, you need at least 10 units of study. Best 2 units of English, and then the next best 8 units after that are used. Just going back to some points with the subjects. English Studies is not an ATAR course. Okay, so just be aware of that, and not a lot of schools offer it. They have to be board-developed courses. If you do a vet course, yes, you can do more than one vet course, but we can only use 2 units of the Category B subject or the vet course. And of course, you have to sit the exam for that particular course to be part of the calculation. Here it is all again. ATAR is based on an aggregate of scaled marks. That's the key word, scaled marks of 10 units. Everyone says scaled marks. What are scaled marks? Everyone gets a little bit, troubled. A lot of people think we're taking away something. But scaling is just about putting everyone into position. We're not actually scaling subjects, we're scaling students, but we say subjects so that you can get a bit more of an idea, because how do you scale students? However, best 2 units of English, best remaining 8. And why scaling? It's so that no student is neither advantaged or disadvantaged because of their subject choice. Last year in the HSC, 80-odd thousand HSC students, 27,000 different patterns of study, 20,000 patterns of study were unique. How do we compare each and every one of you? That's where the scaling comes in. Now, some students say, well, if I do chemistry and physics, I am going to get a better ATAR than someone that does visual arts or history, because it's going to scale me up. We've all heard that, yep. It's a myth, we know it's out there. However, that is not the case. Okay, it is not the case. The scaled mean of a course is always lower than the HSC mean. Some courses, yes, have a higher scaled mean, like physics or chemistry. They do have a high scaled mean. The courses with a higher scaled mean tells us that the ability of the students in that course is quite high. Other courses have a lower scaled mean. It just tells us that the ability of the students in that course is varied from quite high to low. It does not tell you that you cannot get a good ATAR by doing a course with a lower scaled mean. Because remember, ATAR is about position. If you're below the scaled mean, then you're in a low position. So you might have done chemistry and physics, but you might not be very good at it. So you might be below the scaled mean, which means you're in a bad position. So what does that mean to your ATAR? Probably means you're not going to do real well. When selecting your subjects, it's all about selecting the things you're really good at, that you're really interested in, that may help you in your tertiary studies. Yep, that's scaling. Here's a little scenario. This is Fred and Laura. We use it with every Year 12 student because it gives you an understanding of the difference between performance and position. Here's Fred and Laura. They've done exactly the same subjects in the HSC. Fred gets marks of all 70 and Laura gets marks of 80. Now, marks between 70 and 79 are what we would classify as a typical Band 4 student, and about 40% of HSC students will get marks in this area. about 40%. Average marks around 75 for most courses. Some a little bit less, some a little bit higher. Okay, now everyone always sits in the audience and looks at Fred's ATAR and says, well, what did you actually do to his marks of 70? Because they're not bad. But what did you do to give him an ATAR of 57.5? So you're comparing those numbers, which you really can't do, because remember, marks about performance, ATAR's about position. The story here is really in the percentile column. The percentile column tells us where these students are actually sitting within their course. So if we look at biology, for instance, Fred with a mark of 70 is in the 43rd percentile, meaning he's got 57% of students above him. Now, with just a difference of 10 marks, Laura is up in the 75th percentile, so she's only got 25% of students above her. So it's not a lot of mark difference, but there is a big difference in their actual position. If we look at advanced English, mark 70, he's in the 11th percentile, and I can tell you that the median HSC mark for advanced English was 81. The year before, 82. It's not like back in the dark ages when I went to school and you got a 50 and you passed. It's not like that anymore. Okay? So, the moral to Fred and Laura's story is, if you are Fred, there's nothing wrong with being Fred, okay? But if you are a Fred, you'd really have to get your skates on in that race. You can't go through years 11 and 12 and stop to tie up your shoes a million times, because if you do, how many people are going to go past you? It's all about working hard. And of course, if you'd like more information, UAC has lots of different booklets that you can actually download from our website, or I have some of these copies out in the foyer after the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. So now we have Heidi Wright, who is one of our students here at the university. She is studying mechatronic engineering with science, and she is a third-year student. She's going to give you a little bit of information about scholarships here at UNSW and why, as a year 10 student, we want you to be thinking about free money. Okay.
Hey guys, so as Jonathan mentioned, my name's Heidi. I'm actually from up near the Byron Bay area, so for me, Sydney was a 9-hour move. In first year, I was lucky enough to receive 3 scholarships through the university, and without them, it wouldn't have been possible for me to come down to Sydney. So I still hold the Women in Engineering Transport for New South Wales scholarship, and that's a $15,000 scholarship each year for 3 years, so I'm in my 3rd year now, which means that's coming to an end. I also received the Elite Athlete Scholarship, and I'm currently holding the Ben Lexon Scholarship for sporting achievements. I play judo, and I also got a Rural Student Scholarship. So it is possible to hold multiple scholarships at the university. So UNSW provides a lot of scholarships, and there are many reasons for why students get scholarships. First and foremost, it's to provide financial support to the students. So that ranges between $2,000 and $25,000 per annum, and that can make a large difference to a student and how they get through university. Scholarships recognise academic achievements of students, and they're also there to provide diversity and equity for students. Scholarships can also assist with students who otherwise wouldn't have been able to attend the university, such as myself, and there are also a large variety of scholarships available. So when people think of scholarships, they think it's for the smart kids, it's for all the academic achievers. Whilst at UNSW we do have a lot of scholarships which recognise academic achievement, it's not just that at the university. We have a lot of scholarship that recognise abilities such as sporting achievements, your ability to contribute to the university life if you do a lot of volunteering through high school, if you play music at a higher level. There's all different reasons that you could be rewarded with a scholarship. At UNSW, we also have a large focus on equity scholarships to help students struggling getting into university. And we also provide a lot of scholarships, not just after first year, but into university. You can apply again in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year. So each year we have about 400 different scholarship programs, and that's about $15 million a year given away to university students. So there's about 2,000 scholarship holders just in our undergraduate scholars. So what are UNSW scholarships, the Scholarship Office, looking for in candidates? So we're looking for students that have an interest in one of the programs that we offer at the university. Obviously, if you're interested in something that we don't offer, we can't really help you in that area. We offer scholarships to people with leadership skills, people that we want to come to UNSW because they can provide for our university as well. So if you're someone in your school involved in SRC, you're a school captain, a sports captain, you might be a Scouts leader. Those are qualities that we are looking for in students. Once again, we do look at academic achievements as we are a high academic university, and we do appreciate students that have put in the effort through year 11 and 12. We're looking for students that have a lot of community involvement and students that have the ability and the potential to contribute to the university when they get here. We don't want students that were amazing just in year 11 and 12 and turn up just to come to class and then go home. We want students to get involved with the university life. So why is it important that I'm telling you guys about this now? Being in year 10, you're in the prime position to start making up your minds about what you want to do with yourself in year 11 and 12. You have the option of hiding out in your little study cave for the next 2 years and doing nothing but study. But we want a whole and rounded student. So this is the time that you've got to consider not just dropping off with all of your sports, all of your music, any extracurricular activity that you do, but it's time to appreciate that we actually look for those qualities in our scholars coming into the university. The application process for scholarships at UNSW is by far the easiest out of all the scholarships that I tried to apply for across the country. The online application is so simple. You just go on, you say, for example, you're a female interested in studying engineering. There'll be a drop-down list listing all of the scholarships that you could be eligible to apply for, and you can just tick all the boxes for the ones that you do want to apply for. From there's only one application process. With most universities, you have to do a 10-page document per scholarship that you apply for. At UNSW, you only have to tell us your name once. You only have to fill in most questions once. There are some scholarships that do have specific questions. For example, if you're applying for a scholarship in engineering, they might ask you why you're interested in studying engineering. And there are multiple different sections for that as well. Some scholarships also have interviews, but it depends on how much the scholarship's worth and whether that's part of the criteria. So the take-home message from this presentation about scholarships is to consider what you're doing in the next 2 years and how that might impact on getting a scholarship. Being a student myself, a scholarship can mean that you don't have to work while you're studying throughout university. Sometimes you'll have 4 assessments due in a week, and the last thing you want to do is go to an 8-hour work shift and then try and get that done afterwards. It can also mean that you're not just eating 2-minute noodles for the next 3 months, and it can also mean that you might be able to have a Europe vacation over the summer. So scholarships mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but you need to be in it to win it. So thank you.
Hi, how you doing? I feel like we've thrown a heck of a lot of information at you, so I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions so that you can make a decision on whether you can switch off now and have a little 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, 5 minute snooze, or if you should keep listening. Okay, so I just want to know, of those of you out there, is anyone involved in competitive sport? Doing any kind of sports? Yep, great. Cool. Anyone doing music at school, outside of school, anything like that? Yeah, great. Okay. Anyone involved in church or community volunteering or anything like that? Any of that kind of involvement? Cool, cool. All right. Anyone interested in having a little bit of fun when they're at uni? Not many. That's kind of weird. Okay, no, that's okay. That's fine. And is anyone interested in getting just over $18,000 per year for a minimum of 4 years every year while they study? Parents, put your hands down. It's not for you. Okay. All right. So if you answered yes to any and all of those questions, maybe stay awake. If not, shut your eyes for another 3 minutes and I'll let you go. Okay. So who we are. I'm from the co-op program and it's a career development scholarship. It's designed to turn students and scholars into professionals by the time you graduate from university. So it has evolved from companies wanting students who not only have the academic skills that we teach here at university and are of course very necessary and very important to a great career, but as well that squishy bit in the middle, the professional development. They're looking for people who can hit the ground running from day one at the company. They've got those management capabilities and leadership potential, okay? So that's where Co-op has come from. It's evolved from that area, and here's what it involves. Yes, the financial support's great. $18,200 per year is a really, really great reason to get involved in a scholarship program. But the next part, the industry experience, is where it starts to get really interesting. What we try to do is to give students as broad an experience of their industry as we possibly can. So if you're coming into the Co-op program and studying here at UNSW, you're going to go out and do at least 3, potentially 4 industry placements with big name firms, leaders in your profession. So we're talking about the RBAs, the Commonwealth Banks, the Macquaries. We're talking about Coca-Cola Amateur. We're talking about McDonald's, not flipping burgers, but like the important stuff, the exciting stuff behind the scenes. There's also a professional development program that runs all the way through from your day one, all the way through to the time you graduate. So we take those attributes that we've started talking about already that you're developing, whether through community involvement, through church involvement, through your part-time job, whatever it might be, and help you develop those so that by the end of your degree, by the end of your time here at New South, you've got some really fabulous skills to take out into the workplace. We start developing that leadership, and we have a leadership training module that runs all the way through. And the other side of it, and the really, really exciting thing, is the networking. So a lot of university students find it a little bit hard to get their foot in the door when they're graduating and going out into the workplace. That's not the case for Co-op scholars because they've had those 3 industry placements. They've had an opportunity to work with and network with and leaders in the profession. We have certain events that they're going to maybe rub shoulders with the CEOs, the CIOs, the CTOs, and any other C with an O that you can think of. So by the time you're graduating, you know how to talk to people and you know how to showcase yourself really well, and obviously those industries know you as well. And the mentoring aspect, academic and professional mentors, as well as alumni who've been through the program, know what it's like to be in your shoes and know what it's like to be in the real world as well. So all in all, it's pretty fantastic. I'm not biased, I'm just honest. So here's a snapshot of some of the things our Co-op scholars, our 2016 Co-op scholars were involved in. So we spoke about a few of them before, and a number of them are also covered off in the EAP, the Elite Athletes and Performers bonus points section. But we've had students this year who did a TED Talk when they're in year 9 or 10. We've got students who are involved in triathlons or Olympiads, Honeywell summer scholarships for the engineers, all sorts of things. Any way that you can get involved and showcase who you really are, start developing those skills. They don't have to be at school, they can be outside of school, they can be in the community. We're looking for students who are able to, I suppose, manage their time and make themselves shine in those arenas, okay? If you haven't already got involved in these sorts of things, you're in year 10, you've got plenty of time. Make sure, as we've said, make sure you make yourself a great, well-rounded individual. It doesn't have to be in school leadership. It can be in what you're passionate about. Whatever it is, it showcases you and adds to your story. Now, academics are important. We are at UNSW. We do have some fairly high entrance points. For Co-op, we're talking about a minimum ATAR of 96 coming into our programs. Now, a number of people do kind of hear that and hear doors closing in their mind. Please don't close the door on yourself. Don't count yourself out. If you're looking at the areas of business, engineering, science, or the built environment, you should absolutely keep it in mind and give it all you've got. Don't get bogged down in the details. It's time to keep those doors open. If you want further information, if you've got questions, jump online. You can go to, and that's the lovely website, the Future Students page to find out what it's like coming into the program. Experiences to hear from those students who are living the dream and what it's all about for them. Programs will show you all of the different programs. And not surprisingly, the facts page, the FAQs, are frequently asked questions. So if you have a question, you'll probably find it there. It is a font of information, and I really suggest you jump on there first. Now, just finally, I'm assuming nobody is from a rural area if you're in the audience this evening, but if you know anyone who is from a rural area and is interested in engineering, we also coordinate the Rural Engineering Scholarship Program, which offers about 20 scholarships each year, and it's $11,000 per annum tax-free for 4 years for any of the streams of 20 full-time engineering degrees. So more information is on the website there. So keep your doors open, keep involved in things, and I'm going to hand over to Jonathan. Or Heidi.
Thank you, Michelle and Heidi. I'd now like to just welcome Heidi back up to share a little bit about her experience in picking subjects and some final thoughts, just to keep it real. Here's Heidi.
Hey guys, it's been a while since I was in year 10, but when I was in year 10, I was one of those students that wanted to do everything. I was doing surf life saving, I was on my SRC, I played water polo, volleyball, any sport that I could get my hands on. And basically when I came to year 11, people started having this murmur where they were saying, oh, you have to stop what you're doing, you need to focus on the HSC. The HSC is the be-all, end-all, it defines your life. And I wasn't going to have any of that. So I decided that I wanted to keep doing what I was doing, and I'm glad that I did. It gave me some balance throughout year 11 and 12, and when I got sick of studying, I could just go and kick a ball around. I had something else in my life that wasn't the HSC, and I think that's really important for you guys coming through year 11 and 12. Don't make it everything. It is important, but it's not everything. When it comes to picking subjects for year 11 and 12, this is what I picked. For me, it was important that I played to both my strengths and my interests. So for me, my strengths were kind of in the mathematics areas and science. That said, I also really enjoyed science. But I also really enjoyed subjects that weren't traditionally academic, such as PDHPE. And for me, it was really important that I took these subjects because it was something that I really enjoyed. And being something that I enjoyed, I definitely went really well in it. For some of my subjects, though, going between year 11 and 12, I did drop. So I dropped physics and I dropped legal studies. The reasons were I didn't like my physics class, I didn't like the people in it, and for legal studies, I just genuinely did not like the teacher, and I'd just go in there and argue with them every day. And let's be honest, not every teacher at your school is going to be perfect. There's probably a teacher in your English faculty and you're sitting there fingers crossed that you don't get them next year. And that's a reality. So to be honest, you've got to admit that like year 11 is kind of like your taste testing year. You have this smorgasbord of subjects that you've picked from, playing to your strengths and your passions, and you've just tried them, and maybe you thought, you know what, that's the subject that I really wanted to do, but at the end of year 11 you thought, no, not anymore. So you can overload in subjects in year 11, and as long as you go through with 10 units in year 12, those will be taken for your HSC. So don't be afraid to drop subjects if that's not what you're interested in, because if you're genuinely going to be in pain in year 12 trying to get through with your teachers in your class, it's probably not worth it. But definitely consider what you guys are interested in and what's important for university. For example, I kind of had the idea that I might be doing engineering, so I thought maths was pretty important for that. So coming into year 11 and 12, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Just a quick raise of hands. How many of you guys are positive about what you want to do for when you're in university? So that's all of 3 or 4 lonely hands out there. How many of you guys have absolutely no idea and you're kind of just playing it by ear at the moment? Maybe sampling a few more people here. How many of you guys have got parents telling you you're going to be a doctor? That's usually a few people as well. So the thing about choosing what you guys want to do in university is it's about you. You're the person that has to come to university for 3, 4, 5 or 6 years and study. You're the person that's going to be in that career field at the end of the day, not your parents. They don't have to come with you every day into class. They don't have to make 9 a.m. lectures. It's you. So when you're deciding what you guys want to do as a career, make sure you're concerning yourself and not just your parents. But that said, there's a lot of different opportunities and it is hard to narrow it down as to what you want to do. I started by picking what I didn't want to do more so, like I wasn't involved in any creative art, so I kind of ticked that off the list straight away. But I was kind of going around in circles, not being completely sure. Cue, circles, yeah. I haven't used PowerPoint in a while and it was pretty exciting. But When it came to picking a university, one of the main reasons that I picked UNSW was it offered dual degrees. So I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do science or engineering, but at UNSW I was able to do both. So instead of doing a 4-year engineering degree and a 3-year science degree, by doing them at the same time, it was only 5 years. And I thought that way I kind of had a bit more flexibility in deciding what I wanted to do at a later date. That said as well, I heard about this thing called an internal program transfer. So if at the end of first year I decided I didn't like science or engineering, it wasn't too hard to go and switch into an arts or a business degree. The university offered a lot of flexibility, and that was something that I definitely sought. They also had the largest judo team in Australia, and for me that was a really important factor in picking a university. But that said, it's probably not any of your concern at all. There were also plenty of scholarships offered for me, and I did quite like the engineering faculty. To be honest, I didn't know a lot about it. It was more so scholarships in judo. That said, that was my choice as to why I picked UNSW. The thing about picking the university, if you choose to go to university, that's right for you is it has to be right for you. Not right for your parents, not right for your friends. It needs to offer something that kind of attracts you. For some people, they really don't want to go to a university that's just a concrete jungle. The campus is pretty nice here. But the take-home message that I'm trying to get through to you guys today is make sure that you consider all of the different tertiary institutions, all of the different opportunities that you might be considering coming into year 11 and 12 and then going into university. Don't narrow yourself down, don't shut all the doors, just keep everything open and keep an open mind. And then when it comes to picking subjects in year 11 and 12, play to your passions and play to your strengths. And once again, your parents might want you to be a doctor, but you might not want to be a doctor, so keep it for what you guys think is right. Thanks.
So that brings us to the end of the evening this evening, but before you leave, I do want to point out a couple of key things that are important to you, especially as year 10s and going into year 11 and 12. We offer just over 100 different activities, workshops, masterclasses, special events, information evenings, all throughout the year for 10, 11, and 12 students, and some parents as well. So do have a look. This is an example of some of the things that are coming up over the next couple of months, but certainly not all of them. You can find out more about all of these events that are almost all of them free, and they tap in all throughout the year. On the What's On website where you registered to attend this evening's event as well. Also register for the newsletter, both a parent or student newsletter, and we will tell you about these things in your inbox as they are available for registration. So have a look at those. The most important of those events is actually Open Day in September. So on the 3rd of September, even as a year 10 student, it is a good idea to attend Open Day. Last year, 26,000 people attended, so it is a huge event on campus. The mall is full of people and student clubs and faculties, all available to answer your questions and to help you get an idea of whether this is the right place for you. You've heard it a lot of times this evening, and as a graduate of this university, I can tell you that I think UNSW is a fantastic place. It was a fantastic place for me as a student. They pay me to tell you that it's a fantastic place as well. However, it is really, really important for us as a university that you pick UNSW because it is the right place for you and that we're offering what's the right thing for you. If it doesn't feel like the right place, that's okay. There are a lot of great institutions in the Sydney metro area and also around Australia, so do make sure that you're picking the right thing for you. Finally, you can always contact us in the Future Students Office. We're here to answer any questions that you may have anytime between now and eventually enrolling in university. You can ring us, you can Facebook us, you can send us a tweet, whatever you would prefer to do, it's all available there. You can also make sure that you grab that undergraduate guide from the Future Students table with the faculties. Again, they're available until 8 p.m. this evening if you have any other questions. We also have some catering available for you in the hallway as well. And thank you again for coming. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.